Welcome to another episode of The Neophytes, a special series within the Never Close the Inquiry podcast, wherein my good friend Thomas Maybe and I sit down and talk about current issues in politics. We are not experts, neither of us, and that's kind of the whole point. If we repeated our conversation today with the benefit of more time to think things through, it would be different, maybe in small ways and maybe in big ways. The message we're trying to convey is that it's okay not to know. It's okay to keep learning, and it's okay to change your mind. In fact, it's probably good. The fact that you believed something before doesn't mean that when presented with new information or upon reconsideration, you're still locked into that prior view. It's okay, in other words, to never close the inquiry. Well, let's get into it. We have another episode of The Neophytes. Before we get going, of course, we need to thank our sponsors. Again, we have Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar Blackberry.
Heinous.
If you like cough syrup, you'll love this. Yeah, apparently I like cough syrup because I think it's incredibly delicious. This episode is also brought to you by the makers of F1 and IMAX. Not financially so much, but Kaylee and I are going to see that tonight.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, pretty excited.
I guess if we're putting in other sponsors, fluoride. I got fluoride at the dentist today.
Oh,
so.
Is that so? Did they do that separately now that it's?
They said that they didn't used to recommend it, but now that it's not in the water, they do.
Huh.
So
No kidding.
So I guess we just do it at the dentist now.
Is that the thing they put in the little cup and then put on your teeth?
Yeah. So I guess I hadn't had it for a long time because it's been in the water, but they just they just drizzle it on your teeth. I was expecting to have to brush it in or something, but no, it's just give your teeth a little bath of chemicals or whatever.
Huh. Do they get all the teeth?
Yeah.
And so, I guess, do you consume the chemicals or do you spit them into the little dish?
I'm consuming them at this moment.
So
they're like because you're supposed to keep it on your teeth for a little bit. So they told me not to brush my teeth until this evening.
So that's okay. So that's why you're not enjoying something from one of our sponsors at Dr. Pepper.
Correct.
Okay, and that is interesting because it makes me feel kind of like taking it out of the water to keep us from being dumb. Maybe doesn't do quite as much if we just get a direct shot of it.
Right. Yeah. Well, only the people that go to the dentist get the shot. So.
All right. Okay.
Whatever you want to say about that.
Oh,
go ahead.
There we go. That's interesting. Speaking of differential treatment of the haves and have-nots, so to speak.
Yes.
With respect to teeth. The big beautiful bill passed today. I got through, so it had, it started in the House. It got passed out of the House, then it went to the Senate, got revised a bunch. They finally got it through. They had a tough battle to do that. It went through the Senate 51-50 with Vice President J.D. Vance providing the deciding vote. The Republicans who voted against it were Tom Tillis, Rand Paul. Tom Tillis, North Carolina, who announced that he's going to retire at the end of this term. Rand Paul of Kentucky, who tends to hedge more libertarian and fiscal conservative, and Susan Collins of Maine, who has been one of the two senators, along with Lisa Murkowski, who has, kind of.
Is Murkowski Alaska?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who have pushed back, something about they're at the opposite corners. They're in the northeast and northwest. They've been less reliable votes for Trump during both his first term and this one. Murkowski voted for the bill, so her if she had not supported it, it would not have passed. Murkowski was a surprise.
Well, according to Reddit, fine establishment.
Yes.
And source of true information.
Yes.
They the narrative is that they increased something to do with whale something, like they get more money from whales now.
From or for?
I guess they get more money for farming whales. That was like what was on Reddit. It was like
interesting.
Like they're getting all these deals, and part of it was part of the whaling industry in Alaska.
So I know what I have heard, what I have read. Again, we don't have a ton of the details, but what I have read and what Senator Paul actually alluded to in a grumpy interview was that Alaska had gotten a lot more stuff, in the billions with a B, and so Murkowski's like, okay, yeah, I'll vote for it. And now, obviously, she's made Democrats very angry. Maybe Republicans in Alaska happy, who knows? But now both of us we are men of the mountains, of course, the inland mountains.
True.
Not well acquainted with whales or the whaling industry
per se. Yeah.
Right.
I love just saying per se. It's just like it adds something,
Yeah, no, I really think it did. Now people know how bright we are.
Yeah,
all I know about whaling, I'm trying to remember, not much. I read Moby Dick.
Yeah,
recently.
That's about the extent. You can use the blubber for candles or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's it. It maybe I believe that whether it's the Inuit or Eskimo, I'm not super familiar with the individual tribes, but I believe some of the Alaskan Native people do retain certain rights with respect to certain whale species that are otherwise protected. I don't know if this refers to that or not.
Well, all I know is that the general consensus is that there were probably tax cuts for some rich people in Alaska involved in certain trades like whaling. So
and ice trucking. I don't know what other industries Alaska has, but but that kind of gets us to one of the main points of the bill. And again, we're not going to get through a lot of the details today. I wanted to talk through one main point. One of the big headline news items that's been going around on the left is that this will lead, I think it's actually supposed to be over the next few years, although that detail is typically not noted, I think, but lead over the next few years to like 17 million people losing access to Medicaid because of the addition of work requirements.
Yeah.
And then there are also, I think, substantial tax breaks to certain people. I think that there are tax breaks to a number of people potentially, but tax breaks in particular for people who do not need tax breaks. That's the argument.
Yeah.
And we're not speaking from a place of great authority on this podcast. Haven't written about the bill yet, so maybe at some point later we'll rehash and realize we were wrong about everything. We retain that right. But one thing that did stand, one thing that stuck out to me, now that the bill is passed, so I guess this is kind of speaking to Democrats in a sense. So the bill is passed. President Trump is going to sign it into law. And so now you have to think about things two ways, or at least two that I can think of right now. One, you think about how this works politically, electorally, and then two, you worry about the actual impact on your constituents. So in terms of how you, like the political approach, you want to make it appear through the midterms like this is a terrible bill. It's a terrible idea, and the effects are horrid. Because if you do that, and honestly, I don't think it'll be that difficult. Rarely is with this sort of thing. You take the House. You probably take it pretty comfortably. And it was smart of it was smart of Republicans to get it done this far in advance because they probably don't have many bullets left before the midterms, and then very likely to lose the House, and then you're not getting anything done unless enough Democrats approve of it. And there's a long time till the midterms. But anyway, so politically, it's to Democrats' advantage to talk up how bad this is, get kind of a popular movement going against Trump, and then hopefully build momentum over the next nearly year and a half into and through the midterms. And also, it's with things like this where you start to see new leaders come up. Like Democrats right now as a party are not in a particularly good spot, I don't think.
Okay, yeah. Big agree.
Yeah, still dealing with the aftermath of Biden and Harris and Biden again. It just really not great. And you start to, like, during the campaign, everyone kind of coalesces and is like, no, we're all on the same team. And now you start to see more of the cracks. You start to see Senator Bernie Sanders going to talk about. Okay, let me preface that. After Harris lost, the dominant line across Democratic affiliated media was that she had run a flawless campaign, and that she had done everything that anyone really could have done under the admittedly difficult circumstances of a 107-day campaign, and kind of not being able to separate yourself from your super unpopular predecessor. But Sanders, he came out this week and he was saying, I think was probably true. Like, it was a winnable race, and I think every race is winnable, but it was a more winnable than average race. And
So what is he saying that based off of, like, we have like the full count now or something, or he's just saying?
No, I think
he's just saying it because it wasn't discussed.
I think he was just interviewed about something, and I think it came up. But I think in part it was prompted by Zoran Mamdani's success.
You should know how to say it.
I feel like I do. But Zoran Mamdani. Wow, that actually is hard to.
Yeah,
I'm realizing now.
Yeah, because I thought it was interesting. So that it was Cuomo, right, that said it wrong.
Yeah,
and then he got a bunch of crap for it. But
but
when I've said it a few times, I've accidentally said it wrong too.
Yeah. It's funny.
A little bit of sympathy, I guess, but not much.
No, minimal sympathy.
If
for
it was
Cuomo.
my actual opponent, I'm sure I would have said it more than 0 times, so I probably could have gotten it.
Yeah, and then also, like, I feel like I stumble on my words a lot, so I can't judge too aggressively on that. Although, one thing to note about Mamdani's race, and it really is, I kind of remarkable, and I still follow a ton of people in New York on social media. So he was very popular among the people I know, and it's also funny.
You just outed yourself, by the way,
as a
radical leftist.
Yes, of course.
I mean, we all knew that already.
Yes, I am. Democratic socialist. It's funny that the guy representing, like, the more centrist arm of the Democratic Party in the mayoral election is Andrew Cuomo. Like, could you not find anyone better? Like, I recognize that Cuomo has, a great name
experience, I guess.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I mean, in a literal sense, he does.
Yeah.
But it wasn't good necessarily. Like, it didn't end well. And
this goes back to our conversations about, like, choosing someone that's just gonna win, right? That they think is gonna win. So they put all their strength behind this person, but and I was also reading some comments underneath that episode where someone was talking about the two-party system is kind of it's a lot more complicated,
right.
That there are other options, but there might not be any better ones.
Yeah.
Especially right now.
Yeah.
And that's totally fair. I think it's also fair to just be frustrated with the results. And I mean, we're on a podcast and we're bald and white, so we're complaining. That's kind of part of the deal, right?
Right. I think part of our cultural heritage.
Yeah, I just wish it was better.
Yeah. No, I think in a response I said, or should have said, or could have said, the fact that something is the best available option does not mean it is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if something is not good, you can complain about it, I think, as you're right as an American. And then also, I think it is important, even as you don't necessarily, you want to avoid being reactionary and constantly jumping to the other side of the fence thinking the grass is greener. Sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think we have to remain open always to change, skeptical of both. Like you have to be skeptical both ways. You have to be skeptical of change and of stasis.
Yeah.
But it is funny that, in this race, I thought Cuomo was a good idea. And now some of this is hindsight bias because Mamdani started the race polling at 1%.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, he didn't start as this.
So he wasn't a known entity in any way?
I think he was, if not the least known, close to the least known person in the race. He had a great team. He is very charismatic. He's really personable. He does these great videos. That's part of the great team.
Mm-hmm.
His mom was a filmmaker. I don't know what if she had anything to do with that, but his mom's a filmmaker.
It's in the blood.
It's a great, great film is in the blood. And then he did. This was the point that Sanders was making in his interview. He had a message that resonated with people. It's a populist message, but it's one that is focused on issues that really matter to people. Affordability, affordability is a major issue in New York City, and he's talking about government-run grocery stores and rent freezes and things like that. And there are a lot of people who are not without reason very concerned about that or think those are terrible ideas and all that. But the people who he's talking to, think those are good ideas for a reason or are willing to entertain those for a reason. And it's that there genuinely are food deserts in New York City, giant city, where it's difficult for people to get healthy food at a reasonable price.
So food desert, you mean there's just no stores around?
Kind of, yeah. My understanding,
there's only a Whole Foods or something you can buy your milk at.
That is pretty much my understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
So we lived. We tended to live in close proximity to things. We lived on the Upper West Side, had 3 different apartments, 94th Street, 71st Street, 70th Street, all on the west side of the park. And we were never more than a couple of blocks from Trader Joe's and never more than, we were 10 blocks from a Whole Foods. And then there are other grocery stores too. Grocery stores in New York City tend to be very expensive. Bodegas tend to be very expensive. Yeah. I'm not sure I really have a solution for that. It's just an expensive place.
Yeah, well,
Trader Joe's was the cheapest by a country mile.
Really?
Oh,
huh?
Not even close. Not even from what I remember. Not even close to close.
Is there a version of
Morton Williams is very expensive.
of a cheaper grocery store, like a Kroger, Smith's, Albertsons, that type of thing?
You'd think, and every now and then you'd run into one.
Aldi, there's Aldi's.
Not in our area. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the name. Key Foods, I think. Yeah, Key Foods was another one. No, you go into some of them are not as nice and well known and national as Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, and they give you the benefit of having actual national brands. Like you can buy Kraft mac and cheese,
yeah,
if you're so inclined, and good root beer. But no, incredibly expensive. Yeah, Pioneer. That's what it was.
Or just Walmart,
I couldn't even tell you. Maybe there's a Walmart in Brooklyn.
Weird. Okay.
It's a different.
I guess there's just not enough space.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know.
I mean, yeah. Where are you gonna put a Walmart?
There's. I don't
yeah,
know.
in Manhattan, maybe there's room way up north. I don't think there is. If you want to go to a giant fancy grocery store, there's a Costco and maybe a couple. We'd also go to Target. Target was
Target.
Target, sorry.
Yeah.
Target. They had pretty good prices, and that was reasonably close. There's a Costco over on the east side, like East Harlem, on the river, east side of Manhattan. But yeah, generally speaking, there's not a ton of, like, there's not room like there is here.
Interesting.
Or in much of the country.
I mean that's I'm not comparing this to being someone that lives in Israel.
Sure.
But similar to we just don't know sometimes you just don't know what it's like living in someone else's shoes. So that's a problem I wouldn't have thought would be in America at this point, is access to places to buy food and cheaply at least, or not being forced to buy from a gas station or something like that, it's going to be more expensive, or like a really uppity place.
Laughing because it's hard to find a gas station. But
I mean, I don't know.
But I mean, bodegas, and I love bodegas, spent probably 4 figures on soda at our bodega there on the southwest corner of Columbus and 71st Street. But yeah, bloody expensive.
Yeah, I never would have thought that'd be an issue. I think of America as having access to everything.
Yeah. No, and it turns out it really it depends on where you are. And then if you have a ton of money, it doesn't really depend. It's you kind of just get access to stuff, I think.
Well, yeah, you can get it delivered.
Oh, yeah. Gosh. Yeah, no, if you have a lot of money, I mean...
Jeff Bezos will send you whatever you want.
Yeah, he rented out Venice or wherever for $56 million or something for his wedding.
I am just disgusting. Everything about that is disgusting. I'm just gonna say one thing. I saw a post on social media about this guy saying that he wants to start a movement where people flaunting their wealth should be seen as disgusting. And like now, currently, I just saw a post of.
You mean like we should look down on, or disgusting?
Like it should be reprehensible for you to be posting stuff about you being rich.
Oh, okay.
And it just came on the heels of me watching a video from Magic Johnson on a yacht. And it's like, that is kind of weird that it just shows him walking on a treadmill on a yacht. And it's like this drone shot, and it costs him like $1.2 million a week to rent it out or something. And and meanwhile, I guess, and there's just a lot of problems, right? And he's earned his money. Like I'm not saying
incredible basketball player.
I'm not saying anything about that part of it, but it is like I just thought it was funny that there are people that are trying to like push a narrative where like we should like actively make people disgusting because they have money. It's like that. That is not a very American thing.
No, although there's a part of me that even having, and this is kind of funny, like
don't dox yourself too much,
right? But we could, like, our dads are lawyers, like and not bad ones. We did not grow up hand to mouth or whatever the phrase is. We did not lack for.
You're so rich you don't even know the saying.
Right. But there are definitely people that are much richer and grew up in much, nicer neighborhoods with larger homes and all that, and had boats and I don't know what else.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me that is that's a little eat the rich Even having worked with a lot of people that are richer than me, maybe I don't want to eat those rich people, but
I find that it's just as long as they're richer than you,
Oh yeah, screw them.
I feel like that's just a human trait. It's like anyone that's richer than me can suffer more because they're richer, right? And so when I hear things that say tax the rich, and I see things like in the Big Beautiful Bill that it's like they can count the number of people that are getting benefits from this. It was like there's like 85 billionaires or something that were particularly taking advantage
Hashtag blessed.
of this bill.
Yeah.
And then everyone else that's losing Medicaid and all that, just okay. Like, I guess they're just screwed.
They don't have they
So
don't know anyone in Congress.
so I understand feelings and sentiments of eat the rich in those cases,
Yeah.
but we would be considered people that need to be eaten by many,
Yeah.
just based on how we feel, which is just people that are above us at a certain level. It's like,
Yeah.
well, it's like, yeah, well, of course you should pay more in taxes.
Yeah. Like maybe like if we start in the country, if we started a progressive and by progressive I don't mean like liberal, I mean like a progressive, like an eat the rich program where the richest are eaten first.
Mm-hmm.
Like we'd still be eaten before lunch. Like we'd be 11sies. If not, like I don't know, like brunch, like a late breakfast. You know, we're like you know Bezos is gone by like 4 a.m.
Yeah,
but
instantly. Well, I mean,
yeah, he's a pre-workout meal for bodybuilders getting up really early.
yeah, I just think it's interesting that there's that much of a, because we glorify money in this country. We do.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's the point of social media.
Oh, it's great.
And it's like,
That was sarcasm, but yeah.
yeah, like these insane daily routines that people do in the morning that they say that they do. You know, they got all these machines going on and all these things they put in their body, and
Yeah.
you know, you can only do all these things that are best for your body if you make
Right.
money.
Mm-hmm.
And we glorify rappers, sports stars, celebrities, all these people that are just making tons of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see something that's like very counter to that was interesting.
Yeah. By the way, I should note, in case our sponsors are listening, we are okay. We are open to being given huge sums of money.
I'll sell out in a second.
Yeah.
I don't speak for Nick here, but yeah,
Yeah.
just saying.
We have some limits. but you know, we'll have the discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but I would be honest about selling out.
Yeah. That is one thing I think we would do.
Yeah.
It's like, here we are endorsing Al Qaeda, but for the record, we got $51 million.
Yeah. And we totally believe it. You know?
Yeah.
We believe in their ideology now.
Yeah, we're Al Qaedaites.
Yeah.
Yeah. America sucks. Yeah. 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 Circling back
Anyways,
to the second part of the big beautiful bill. So the first was political, and then we obviously had that tightly reasoned segment on that.
Yep.
The second bit of it is what you do practically at this point. And I think there's more room there than people often.
And you're still talking about the Democrats in specific here.
Yeah, I mean, and Republicans too, but Democrats are obviously much more concerned about it. Republicans are going to try and sell it like this is the greatest thing ever. This is Trump's big. It actually is Trump's big legislative accomplishment. So for his sake, we're going to hope that it goes rather well. And for Republicans' sake, people who have to run for office again, they're going to really hope that it goes rather well, because if they're not, they're going to get hung with it. But these things are like, so the Congressional Budget Office, they're very good. My uncle actually worked for the Congressional Budget Office for a long time doing healthcare. Really great, smart guy. Shout out Uncle Stu. Hope that wasn't a dox. Former governor. Anyway, they do very good work, but they do these analyses, and they're kind of they have to be based on certain assumptions. It's like, this is going to kick 17 million people off Medicaid, and it'll be assuming that X, Y, and Z happen and A, B, and C don't happen, or something like that. That's putting it very generally and non-specifically. Mm-hmm. And in practice, what we find is that those things often shift. And so, when the CBO says that 17 million people will be kicked off Medicaid, it's like that really depends on what happens next. I'm not saying that Republicans should have passed the big beautiful bill. I'm saying that now that Trump is going to sign it, it's going to be put in place. Mm-hmm. And now, as Democrats and Republicans too, you're here, and so you want to. If you're actually focused on making things better for the American people, you want to maximize whatever upside there is and then minimize any downsides. And there might be a lot you can do there. I don't know what that's going to mean specifically. Maybe this is going to look like, maybe we see, state-run exchanges or, state-run programs to cover people. Maybe there are a lot of ways you can go with it, and I think there are a lot of creative. There are some very creative, smart people who might have ideas.
So you're saying that we're gonna have to fix the problem through other means.
Pretty much, yeah.
There definitely is an air of. I feel like they blew it up to such a degree, and probably rightfully so. I don't know. But it's like once it's passed, then like it's over. It's game over.
Yeah, and that's not how it works.
Because that's how it feels.
Yeah, and again, that's the politics of it. So when Democrats are in the minority right now in both the Senate and the House, they don't have any ability to block this bill through reconciliation. They can just advocate and try to get the American people to push on certain things. And there were a couple of issues where Republicans had to give because they got pushback. The public land sales bit that our Senator Mike Lee was pushing hard, he faced massive opposition from Republicans and Democrats, people of primarily of our land, the West. And it's funny because the Senate parliamentarian actually said that, at least as written, they couldn't include that anyway.
Well, that doesn't seem to matter
entirely
very much these days.
Well, you can
whether or not you can include stuff or
you can
legally, Constitution or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, in this particular context, I think it still does matter. But regardless, Lee ended up taking it out, and I think there was more. That was a more narrow part of the bill that was pushed harder by an individual senator. That wasn't like some of the Medicaid work requirements that I think had much broader support on the Republican side. Mm-hmm. Harder to get rid of that than the public land sales that only Mike Lee is going to stick his neck out for. But yeah, until the bill is passed, until it's in ink, signed by the president, and enacted into law. You do everything you can politically to make this seem like a horrendous idea or to get changes made. And so, you want to sound as fatalistic as possible. If this is passed, 17 million people are going to die. And you maybe don't give the timetable. You say it's immediate. They're going to be kicked off Medicaid, and they're totally screwed.
Yeah.
And politically, I think that's the right move. And both sides do it, certainly. But then once it's done, you can kind of put that aside until the election and focus on what can be done. And usually a lot can be done. The example that stuck out in my head as I was reading about this was voting in Georgia. There were laws passed a couple years back. It's funny, I probably should have looked up the details. But there were... I don't remember if it was voter ID, or what, but after the 2020 election in the state of Georgia, that was a state where Republicans were particularly cranky about Trump's loss and figured it was fraud. Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger, who were the governor and secretary of state, I believe at the time, defended the process and all that, but the Republican-led legislature, I believe, passed laws that restricted who had the right to vote. And the Democrats argued, but before its passage and after its passage, that this was a horrendous thing that was going to materially impact Black Georgians' access to the ballot box. It was effectively going to disenfranchise
So it's
a
specifically
significant number of
targeted.
people. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it was it was pretextual and targeted. In practice, it seems that that did not happen. That Black voter participation, and again, if we have a listener correct us, it'd be helpful. But my understanding is that Black voter participation in Georgia went up, and relative to at the midterm relative to where it's been before. I can't remember all the details, but anyway, basically that this law did not have the nightmarish downside that they had predicted. And part of the reason it didn't have the downside is because people didn't just sit back and let it fall on them after it was passed. They went out and took steps to mitigate what they saw as potential downsides. And I think Democrats are, even while they maintain the political side of this, and Republicans while they maintain the political side of it, at the state level, and maybe through other federal legislation, they should go about, and are going to go about doing everything they can to mitigate any potential downsides. And I think there's probably a lot of room there, especially when we're talking about a timeline like over years. This is not 17 million people are kicked off Medicaid by tomorrow. This is, we think this many people, and that's a huge number of people, will lose it absent, some unspecified intervention by 2028, right? I forget what the date is.
So is this, I'm of course thinking of the listeners that are as uninformed as myself. When something like this is passed, it's not something that the next president can come in and say no thanks and reverse.
No.
So like I know that Obamacare was a similarly big deal back in the day when it was passed, and then I think they tried to take it out, but they couldn't do it, so they like kind of half took it out or something. But it doesn't. You can't just say "oops" and do something else when the next dude gets in, or dudette.
Oops. So, not the president on his or her lonesome. No, an act of Congress. Now, granted, I think Trump in certain respects is trying to test this, but an actual act of Congress cannot be changed absent a further act of Congress. So Congress passes a law. That law can absolutely be changed, but only by Congress. Can it be repealed? Absolutely. But again, a repeal is a form of amendment. It's it's the same process. So it is entirely possible that this big beautiful bill passes and then is amended in some material respect upon the accession of a Democrat to the White House with Democratic majorities in the House and Senate. Yeah, in that case, you could absolutely change it.
But it's not likely to happen.
Well, it wouldn't be before 2029.
Oh,
right, because you would. I mean, well, you would need the president to sign whatever amendment it is, unless you get a veto-proof majority.
Wow, 2029. It seems like it's a long time away.
Yeah, no, we're in year one. We're not even technically we're not even halfway through year one. Of President Trump's second term.
Yeah, when you said that, I was like, they're like 2 presidents from now, but no,
that'd be 1 president. Yeah, the first year of the next president.
Okay,
who could very well be a Republican.
Yep,
depending on how the election goes, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah. No, interesting stuff. Okay, so that let's call that it on the big beautiful bill for now. We'll probably do another episode on that once we get some more details. Talk about the maybe the more contested parts.
But
of it.
It's fair to say that you're a big fan. so far.
Well, how could I not be with a name like that?
Yeah.
The big beautiful bill.
Is that what it's called for real, or is
Yeah,
that just what Trump calls it?
no, it's the actual name of it,
Nice.
which I
Nice.
hate. The one big beautiful bill.
Oh, let him have it. You know, he's the president.
Yeah, it's funny because things like that. Okay, quick side note before we move on. Okay, how do I put this? Okay, so I hate trolling.
Uh-oh.
Hate it.
How are we friends?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's all I do. I feel like
No, so I think if you watch me around our other friends, you would like it probably doesn't surprise you to hear me say that I hate.
No.
Yeah, I hate it. And I hate it in virtually every form, in virtually every place. Like it's outside very limited contexts. I hate it. And there's actually, I think, a substantive defense for my hatred.
Okay.
So, part of the reason, okay, I'm not gonna try to make it sound too highfalutin. Trolling makes people mad with no apparent purpose. Like it makes people mad apart from the substance. It's stupid. I forget. I think it is in the Big Beautiful Bill, but Republicans they came up with this account concept of some sort, where it's basically going to be a small trust fund for kids that they can access for educational purposes at 18, some other purpose at 25, and then they can get all of it at 30, something like that. Kind of a savings account you put in place for young kids. That is not solely a conservative idea. That's kind of a bipartisan thing. It seems like a totally fine idea, but some people think it's a great idea. Whatever. We're trying to set people up for a brighter future. Great. I think the first name they came up with was a MAGA account. It's either that or a Trump account. Might be a Trump account now. Anyway, you give it a name like that, and all you were doing, me speak English. All you were doing is begging Democrats to be super mad about a good idea. I hate that.
I think it's so funny.
I hate it.
I think it's hilarious.
Oh, I loathe it.
I get what you're saying because it can have a real effect on something that's good, and so so the people that are bothered by it will automatically be turned off.
Yeah, and you put Democrats in this stupid bind where it's something they should support or might be much more inclined to support if it didn't have such an annoying name. And again, both parties do this. There's a total, I think, probably a lot of it postdates Trump. Coincidence? Whatever. Perhaps. There is a distinct lack of decorum in both the Republican and Democratic parties. It is particularly flagrant in this administration. J.D. Vance picked up a Blue Sky account. Blue Sky, of course, is from what I understand,
alternative to Twitter.
Yeah, it's a very liberal form of Twitter.
Is it? Okay.
I think it's pretty intensely liberal. That's my understanding.
Yucky.
Or great. Found our people. Although I haven't gone on yet, so apparently not. Anyway, he got a Blue Sky account just for the purposes of trolling people. On the one hand, it's funny.
Yeah.
But on the other, what good does that do?
Oh, it just makes you feel good, you know? I'm him.
Oh, him, yeah, sure. Probably.
Yeah. I can't criticize trolling because I find it very enjoyable.
Okay. I will criticize it because I feel like I don't do all that much of it. I'm sure I don't do none. I don't mean to claim that I've never trolled anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably point to some examples, but I'd have to think.
Good. All right. We'll leave it at that. Let's assume that I've never trolled anybody, and then I'll delete any comments to the
Well,
the
yeah,
contrary.
it's. I feel like it's a it's like the ultimate form of like what is that word? Sardonic, like where you're just really laying it on thick,
Mm,
and like that you're kind of talking to the extreme. Like I feel like that's what happens when at that high level when you're making a bill like that. It's like we're we hate this other group of people
yeah,
so much
yeah.
that we literally just want to make you mad.
It's basically like, I do not consider you worthy of sincerity.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, kind of dancing around to how to make this argument. I think it's that. It's like, I do not think you're even worthy of genuine, sincere engagement.
And I think
I hate
as
that.
long as both parties think that about themselves, I think I think trolling's really funny, but
Ugh.
it is one-sided in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
and we're here at this period, and obviously we are deeply polarized, very negatively polarized. All that's true. And I think a lot of people are looking for a way out of that or past it. And I think this sort of acrid sarcasm about our political others, especially to their faces,
mhm.
and the trolling, the juvenile posts, both from the official organs of the United States government, from like the White House account and the different departments' Twitter accounts. Ugh. And then the similarly juvenile responses or other posts from Democrats and it'll be like the official Democratic Party. I hate that stuff.
Well,
It's just this massive barrier to good, sincere political engagement.
I'm trying to remember exactly what he said, but JD Vance at some point when he was, I think it was right after President Trump sent the missiles to Iran,
Yeah.
and JD Vance is like, well, you know, yeah,
This is a great impression, by the way.
we've been criticized for following in the footsteps of our like Bush and stuff like that,
Yeah.
where that's like starting another war basically. But he's
Yep.
like, but now we have someone that's really smart in office instead of someone that's really stupid.
I think he said the difference is they were dumb.
yeah, like that is just pure troll, right? Like he's literally just he's baiting
Yeah.
people and just saying we're the best, everyone else is the worst,
Yeah.
and
It's not like a coherent argument. It's an
no,
appeal
because
to
that is the
authority.
only that's like the only way I can see that being something that someone could say is like if it's kind of as a joke.
Mm.
But I don't know if he's joking or not. I don't think he is. But I wonder what the self-awareness is there, you know.
Yeah.
I will say that I think trolling is a human thing. I think it's
Yeah.
and
Taunting. Yeah. All these
and
things. Yeah.
like for anyone that doesn't play online games,
Ah,
it's like
I don't.
it's some people's purpose in life to make other people online that spend their time doing things either incapable of doing them
Yeah.
or make them feel bad for doing them. Like
Mhm.
there's just a lot of people that want to make others feel bad or waste their time, and knowing that you've had that effect on someone is what they love more than anything else.
So whether or not this reflects well on me, I believe that it does. This is of my various qualities. This might be my best.
Ooh.
I don't think I have that gene at all. I hate that sort of stuff. Oh wait, no, I'm gonna take it back. Dang it, we're out. I could. Well, actually, I like pointing out to my dad when I outdrive him, golf course.
I mean, there's various. I mean,
Okay, so
you can get into the specifics of what a troll is or what trolling means, but
yeah,
I think the worst definition, the worst version of it that seems to be somewhat popular is making others just kind of automatically feel bad about something
Yeah. Oh,
that doesn't invite any room for ambiguity or discussion or inclusivity in any way,
yeah.
and it just can shut things off. It's very effective at sending a message.
Yeah, it sends a message, and I do take. I'm thinking of one example. We'll do another episode on this because it's serious and worthy of our attention. But a big issue right now is transgender participation in sports, particularly like organized sports at the high school and collegiate level, and that's a serious issue. And I think it's an issue that I think affects very few people, but it's an issue that the people that are affected, they're affected quite a lot, and I think these are difficult things that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And if you instinctively or quickly and dismissively take a strong position one way or the other, you can have a strong position, but if you take it quickly and without due regard or respect for the other side, I think you can hurt people in a way that doesn't actually serve your cause. And basically on that, I feel like there are a lot of people who are just mean.
Yeah.
And they could get what they're aiming for without being mean. What? Are you laughing at me?
I'm laughing because my stomach growled like insanely loud.
Oh, all right. I did not hear it.
Oh
But
my
anyway,
gosh.
I guess I just really I don't like meanness. I mean, that's kind of what this newsletter and podcast came out of. It's like, and it's not like it's not like a reflexive centrism or guys, let's just get along. It's guys, let's get along because it's going to make us better at solving problems. Like the government is supposed to solve problems.
Yeah.
Or get out of the way so people can solve problems.
Yeah.
With respect to her.
I just feel like it just contributes to the government's just a circus.
Yeah. People take it as a joke.
Yeah. Because
that's bad.
That's kind of how it's treated.
Right.
And
that's another good way to put it. Yeah.
In discussion, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that takes us into our next point. Talked about this before. Pew Research Center. It probably comes up. It's going to come up every podcast. Mm-hmm. But I just published an article about it. 1958, they start asking Americans whether they trust the government, federal government, to do the right thing. 1958, 73% of people say yes, just about always or most of the time. 1964, 77%. Then, a rough period. 1980, last year, Jimmy Carter's, I was going to say reign, wasn't the king. Last year of his presidency, of his term, 27%.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a swift kick in the gonads. It does go up a bit during Reagan's two terms. It gets up to 46%, I think, at one point. Then it drops down again a little bit under Bush the first. Then there's a slow, steady climb under Clinton, but it's never like 50%. Mm-hmm. Then the only time since 1970 that it's been above 50% was in the wake of 9/11, and that was brief. There's this period where, for better or worse, people are really stoked about being American. They're like, yeah, the government, we're all for it. Yeah, we're all for the government. That's great. And then, obviously things kind of went a little downhill.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, Iraq, ended up very unpopular. And there's a financial crisis, which also contributed to, I think, some difficult political issues for the incumbent Republican government. Mm-hmm. And so President Obama comes in, and you're holding steady over over Obama, his 2 terms, Trump 1, and Biden. I don't know if they've done polling yet for 2025. I don't know at what point during the year they ask these questions, but or how frequently they do. But you're like between 18 and 24% people that trust the government to do the right thing just about always or most of the time.
That was their most recent one.
Yeah, that never got above 24 over the last 16 years. And I couldn't tell you the actual concrete immediate effect of people not trusting the government. Like it's not like you don't trust the government, ergo the U.S. is screwed and nation's over next year. But I do think it leaves you, one, it's just not that fun. Kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
2, I think it leaves you ill-prepared to respond to and adapt with changing circumstances or big kind of cataclysmic events. So like COVID, I don't think the government was particularly well prepared to respond to COVID.
Right.
There are a lot of reasons you could cite for that, but part of it, I think, was that people didn't really trust the government. And the worst part of that is that in retrospect, maybe they were right not to trust the government.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then having now gone through COVID, I think that is going to leave us, it's, one of those kind of perverse things where having done that, there, in certain respects, we'd be better prepared for another pandemic. I think, of the same exact magnitude.
But, those, like that event specifically.
We have that one specific, which, probably not that likely.
Yeah.
But less well prepared to react to a disaster overall, because the government comes out and says something, you need to wear a mask, you shouldn't wear a mask, any of that. I think there are going to be more people that are inclined not to trust the government.
Well, I think for me, what distrust in the government ultimately does is probably, I don't know, I guess it might go either way, but I could see a lot of people just not feeling like voting matters, for one. So there might be some people that are like, well, it doesn't seem to matter, especially if we're talking about a period of like low approval over time, not just like with one particular president.
Sure. Yeah.
But if it seems like you can't trust the government, whoever's in there, then who you vote for matters a lot less.
Yeah.
Maybe like not literally. I'm not saying I believe this, but just.
Well, a lot of people do believe that.
And I've been on that side.
Yeah.
More than once. Very kind of oscillating. It's just kind of, okay, well, I can vote for this guy, but I know he doesn't care about me, and I don't really know how to affect things about my own life. Like, I can vote for people, but I don't really know what that means and how my vote turns into something substantial happening on something that I care about in particular. And it, as most things with me go, it gets gets much larger than it should, like philosophical, like it does. Yeah, I want to get into it, but just I'm not sure if someone is not sure about the quality of the president and it doesn't matter, then who cares to go vote at a particular location that's harder for you, and it's stuff going on, and everything's bad anyways, so just keep living your life, do the best you can, but your vote doesn't matter. Like that type of attitude.
That kind of disillusionment, I think it's tied to this next point that I want to bring up too, this next set of polls. But the United States, like when people talk about the American experiment, they might be referring to a number of different things. Form of government, make up a society, whatever. But one way in which America is an ongoing experiment is in its diversity. in the sense that we do not, I obviously, it's the country has a strong Western European heritage. People talk about Judeo-Christian heritage, specifically a very strong English heritage, which is, fun for us of at least partial English descent. We are the true Americans. But we obviously in the U.S., more than the vast majority of other countries, and certainly historically much more than other countries, have pulled people in from every other country around the globe. It was Reagan. It was, quote Reagan on this. He had the great quote, I'm going to paraphrase, where...
Tear down the wall or something? Is that the one you're thinking of?
Different one.
Okay.
It's like, you're born in France, you're going to die a Frenchman, no matter where you end up. You're born in England or wherever, or like if you're born in France, you're born a Frenchman and you move to England, you're going to die a Frenchman. Something like that. Maybe I'm using the wrong examples. But the basic gist was, you could be born anywhere. But then if you come to America, you can die an American. You can become an American more than you can become a person of whatever other nationality. Huh. And it actually is kind of funny when you think about it. Like, for example, look at someone whose parents are German and they're born in Italy and raised in Italy. Like, you're still going to think of that person to a great degree as German.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Whereas kind of here, we do get kind of melted together, and it's like, your parents are not from here. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you're American.
Although you still have to get asked where you're from all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes the questions are innocuous. Like, it's fun even as whites whose families, I think, have been here for a comparatively long period. When did your first ancestors come to the U.S.?
My mom's going to kill me. I don't remember.
It was your mom. No, just kidding.
Long time ago on the Mayflower, I believe.
Nice. Yeah. I think I might have had someone on the Mayflower, and then definitely the next year in Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah, long time.
Uh-huh.
Dirty colonizers. But oh yeah, I was saying, even for people of our vintage, so to speak, it's fun to get a sense of where people are from.
And people will ask, like,
your ancestry.
Yeah, just general questions like that. But
yeah,
I do know it gets really annoying for people that like aren't white, and someone's just like, oh, so where are you from?
Right. Yeah. Like where? Yeah.
Some people try to be sly about it, and others are just like literally asking like, so when did you get off the boat? Like, yeah, very rude. Yeah.
there's a not so subtle hint of racism, but then at the same time, it's also sometimes just really cool to know.
But it is
awesome.
It is like, I feel like for at least the people that I know and care about, there's a very general sense of welcoming people from anywhere.
Yeah.
And not necessarily that goes into a different topic, but I think people in general, as long as I'm at least being in a big city, it's like, oh, it's cool that there's people from all over, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah. I tend to think in practice people tend to be much more welcoming than they are in theory.
Yeah, true.
It's like, it's like it's one thing to have a bunch of people from some other country show up in, a town in Iowa or wherever.
Yeah.
And another thing to have people move in that you get to know and like, these people are cool. It doesn't always work out quite that well, but often does. Anyway, I was bringing that up because we don't have like this definite, we as Americans don't necessarily share a skin color. We don't necessarily share religion.
Mm-hmm.
We don't necessarily share, national heritage or whatever, or recent cultural heritage. And we might not share, food. There are all these things that we might not share. It's important that we have something that we do. And historically, I think, and in, an ideal situation, like a patriotism, a love of America, could be that binder?
American exceptionalism.
Something. Yeah. By the way, people talk about American exceptionalism like it's dumb and bad.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we can perform a sober assessment across different metrics and determine where we are exceptional and where we have room to improve. But if you've traveled to other countries, pretty much everyone thinks their country is exceptional. And it's kind of awesome and hilarious because sometimes you're someplace where there is no rational reason to believe that they are exceptional in any traditional sense of the word.
It's got to be instinctual. It's got to be like just a human thing.
Yeah. It's
just where you grow up.
No. Yeah. Like we're going to win, baby. Our tribe's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we want the resources. Well, like yes. And when that breaks down, like you lose something. And you lose something that actually I think is it can be weaponized for bad, but that is good. Here's an inoffensive context. Sports. There are a lot of ways in which sports is not like politics, and the sportification of politics is bad. However, one of the really fun things about sports, I think, about being a devoted fan of a particular team, and each of us, we are big fans of the University of Utah. Mm-hmm. Go Utes football. And I'm a huge fan of the San Francisco Giants. Do you have any other teams that you really?
Oh, let's see.
League of Legends.
Just for you, I'll say the Dodgers.
FNA. But like with your with your team, like you have a bond with other fans of that team.
Yeah.
And it's this silly bond that it doesn't really mean anything. Like maybe it's kind of connected to the geography of where you grew up or whatever, but you have that identity and it's like, we're the best. Even if your team sucks, we're the best. And our rival sucks and I hate them and I hate all their fans. But you don't actually hate them.
Right. Hopefully.
There have been some incidents, but you don't usually actually hate them. It's kind of like a fun play hate, almost as if we're play acting something primordial and very old.
Yeah. It seems like similar to like how dads wrestle with their kids to like prepare them to fight, to prepare them to fight a bear or something. I don't know. And then, and this is like, this is our pretend like, rah, go team because we're the best and we're going to go fight somebody, but it's not really real. It's just like, but what if we do need to do that? Like, what if the Russians attack or,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure where we're going with this, but
well, this is all very scientific.
Yes. We both have doctorates, of course, in various subjects. The
wrestling bears,
bear wrestling. But anyway, point is, I think we do need a national binder. And so it brings us to another study, another survey.
Okay.
So Gallup, for the last 25 years, beginning in January 2001, has been asking Americans how proud they are of their country, or how proud they are to be American, I should say. Sorry. And the percentage of people who responded extremely proud or very proud has decreased over time. But it's important to understand for whom it has decreased. When they took that first poll in January 2001, and keep in mind, this is right after like a really contentious election cycle, a contested and debatable Supreme Court decision on that handed the election to George W. Bush. 87% of people responded that they were extremely or very proud to be American. 90% of Republicans, 87% of Democrats, 85% of or 84% of independents. I don't know why independents were lower. I don't know. Independents, I don't know who that includes.
Yeah.
Anyway, fast forward to today. Republicans, by and large, are still stoked on America. So 92% of Republicans in the 2025 poll, which was conducted prior to the Iran strikes, so it was June 2nd to June 19th, 92% of Republicans are very or extremely proud to be American. Quick caveat. Only 60-something% of Gen Z Republicans are extremely or very proud to be American. So seeing the generational shift. But only 53% of independents overall are extremely or very proud to be American, which you might note is way under, well, it's way under 84%, it's way under 92.
Yeah.
And then Democrats, our people, our fellow lib patriots, 36%.
Wow.
Way lower, 56 points lower than the 92 enjoyed by Republicans. So, first off, one thing, so, Republicans have this narrative that, I said narrative, like, I feel like I said narrative in a very liberal podcast way.
Yeah, you're setting it up already.
Sorry.
It's disgusting.
Okay, sorry. But Republicans do have a narrative where it's like Democrats hate America. And they aren't proud to be American. And in a literal sense, they are apparently not proud to be American. So, fair enough. But I think it's not right to say one, it's a little trolly and maybe over the top to say they hate America. I don't think that's right. I think
it's dissatisfaction.
Yeah. I think Democrats desperately want to be proud to be American. I think they're really, like, no one's like, I am not proud to be American, and that makes me glad, and I hope that doesn't change.
Well,
maybe some people think that.
I think it's so easy for people to become focused in on all the stuff that they don't like and is not working. So, especially with the internet is designed in a way to get traffic, which means extremes.
Yeah.
And so they're going to see a lot of stuff that makes them mad. And if you see that over a period of time and it seems like nothing's getting better, and it just goes back to kind of the same kind of stuff we've been talking about. And also previously in another episode at some point, I remember mentioning, like, I feel like I hate that I can't be proud to be an American because it like, if I put an American flag in front of my house, it's like, oh, that person's a Republican. And I know that's not true.
It's also brutal for Democrats. But yeah.
But I know that that's not true, but it's like, I see an American flag in front of someone's house, and I'm like, okay, and maybe there's more than one,
Yeah.
That's a definite
If they
tell.
got more than one.
If there's more than one, it's like absolutely for sure Republican.
Don't rob them, you're getting shot, that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is this feeling of, if you're Team America, you're Republican.
Yeah.
And if you're a Democrat, you're like a whiny little baby, and you're never happy. You're trying to make everyone kumbaya. Yeah. And you're just miserable with your own company, and you just can't love America in the same way that Republicans can.
I mean, we are miserable with our own company. That's why we try to come together to speak to each other.
True.
Right. Let me try and lay out 3 reasons that I think might explain part of why the Democratic number is so low.
Hagen's top 3 reasons.
The second 2 will probably be kind of obvious. I guess the second and third. So the first, maybe they're all obvious. One is that genuinely much more on the left than on the right, you have a push to be aware of past and present American misdeeds. That includes segregation, mistreatment, and how would you put it? Well, let's call it severe mistreatment of Native Americans. Interventions in other countries that went really awry. Not just recent and not just Vietnam. We were involved around the world in ways that probably didn't help us, and
definitely didn't help them.
Yeah, definitely led to the deaths of a lot of people. That number being more likely in the millions than in the thousands. And America has, certainly historically had, and arguably still has, the more contested now, but has issues with racism and with sexism. And I say that not to, I kind of threw that off. It's more like, don't want to imply that anything is necessarily equal or greater, or whatever. There is a big push on the left to recognize these things. And there's good reason to do that, because a lot of these things happened, and to the extent things are still problems, we want to recognize them so that we can remedy them. You can have a debate here about whether recognizing them is actually the best way to remedy them. I think that is worth discussing. But it's reasonable to think that to solve a problem, we need to first understand it, recognize it. Certainly, Democrats have been really dealing with a lot of that. And absolutely, a lot of Republicans and maybe a lot of independents and maybe a lot of Democrats don't really like that and think it makes everything much less pleasant and makes team meetings, so to speak, much less fun.
Yeah.
Fair enough. The second, I was say, you can hear how desperate we are on this podcast not to be canceled. We have.
That's the thing I like about my role in this is that I don't really know who's listening to this on your side of things.
Me neither.
So I feel like I can just say stuff, and then if it's really bad, it'll be cut out, or or you can tell me that it was bad later or something.
Yeah. Little do people know, when they're listening to a 90-minute episode, we've recorded for 9 hours.
Yeah. It's just 6 hours of me just saying the most vile and heinous stuff.
I really don't like accountants. Okay. Second thing, Trump. I think for a lot of people, maybe we can make the general point and say that Democrats writ large look at America as much as an idea, as a place, and are really stoked about American values, and feeling pride in America requires living up to those values. And so when America does things like D-Day, Democrats are stoked, but a lot of the rest of the time, less so. And when you have Trump, who is obviously very popular with a great many, but to others, deeply offensive in virtually every respect, people that feel that way are going to have a tough time feeling jazzed about being American. Yeah. Whereas I feel like for Republicans, because their number only got down to 84% even during the Biden administration, it feels more tied to the place somehow.
It's like a tenet of the religion.
Yeah, sure.
It's
They're
like
stoked about being American. Yeah,
it's just part of the deal, man.
Okay, no, that's a real point. Like some of this is probably signaling. Like some of in the response, it's like if you ask a Republican, "Are you extremely or very proud to be American?" It's like yes, because that's part of the Republican religion. And then part of this first point with Democrats, you have to be aware of all this stuff. It's like, "Are you extremely or very proud to be an American?" It's like, well, not without some caveats.
Yeah, but
right,
X, Y, Z.
Yeah. So maybe there's some signaling going on there. So don't want to overread into the results, but still, it's a really significant gap.
Yeah.
But so Trump's that next one. And then third, and this gets to your disillusionment point, Biden, current Democratic Party. Democrats, the nation's Democrats, have not been well served by their leaders in recent years. Yeah, and I don't know how much we need to get into that. I don't know how much information we need to provide to stick the landing on that argument.
I feel like that's probably shared by many.
Yeah. There are not a lot of Democrats who feel like, you know what, the party's been nailing it. Yeah. This is great. Like the Biden administration was a nonstop thrill ride. I thought the debate went kind of well. Shouldn't have pushed him out, but you know what? Who better could you get than Vice President Harris? Here we go, baby. And Governor Walz, like he absolutely can code switch and talk to both libs and then rednecks. I don't know,
some version of
people that like football. That's what it is. He can get in the book circle or whatever it is.
Book circle.
Whatever the liberal meeting is. What meetings do we go to? Whatever the liberal alternative to
drum circles,
football, something
drug related.
Whatever us liberals go to that is not a football game, mechanics, play, like he can fix cars and oh man, there's one video raised a lot of questions about his ability to hunt, but allegedly he does hunt.
Well, he's better than Cheney.
Good point. But anyway, like everything's been going great for Democrats, and you know what? I'm not all that bummed we lost this last race. It just gives us an opportunity to regroup. It's like there are not a lot of Democrats that are saying, love Schumer and Jeffries, killing it.
Yeah, definitely.
They have been nothing if not effectual in their roles.
Inspiring.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Yep. They're the only problem Democrats have for 2028 is too many great options.
So basically, Republicans are happy because they're winning, and Democrats are sad because they're losing.
So Republicans were happy even when they were losing. Democrats are very sad that they're losing.
Republicans are just happy, man.
Yeah, I guess.
They got something figured out.
They like maybe ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. That's what I think.
That is the implied thing about the study. Did we even talk about that one?
Which one?
About happiness.
Between
the
no,
parties?
we didn't. Because
all
right, we got 9 minutes or 8 minutes.
It's almost like it lined up perfectly with "Are you happy to be an American?" Because when you said those statistics, because
now introduce the people. What study are you talking about?
Yeah, so there was a study done where they were basically asking if you were happy, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
and Democrats were very not happy.
Democrats are sad,
and Republicans were like, "Hell yeah, brother."
For the record, not all Republicans sound like that, but the ones that do are stoked.
And it makes sense to me if you're feeling like you're trying to make changes and nothing's happening and might be even getting worse.
Yeah.
Then of course that's going to affect how you feel if you're more involved and you're thinking about like some rich, like super elite Democrat in any state could be unhappy because of and even if their own life is like amazing, because they're thinking about other people that are less fortunate or suffering because of unfair things, their quality of life is going down.
Yeah.
Just because of how they're thinking about things, and not even necessarily how it's affecting them.
Yeah.
So there's like a great deal of empathy involved there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a Republican and you're less concerned with the social issues per se and how that affects other people that think differently than you or from different places, and you're more focused on how America's awesome and what we're doing good
Yeah.
and reasons to be happy for America,
Yeah.
then that makes sense if you're feeling a little bit happier. But
Let's, I mean, that explanation makes sense. And just want to point out, let's talk about some other possibly contributing or confounding reasons that this you could also see the same results.
Mhm.
Like, it basically, is it just that Republicans are like, we love America and Trump's great, and so they're happy, and Democrats are the opposite? Or do we see other like commonalities? Like, are Republicans, I think some of this is probably true, like are Republicans more enmeshed in their communities, either through church or some other organization?
Uh-huh.
I guess church, synagogue, mosque, some religious organization or some secular organization. Are they doing things that we on the whole would expect to contribute more to happiness than Democrats are? I don't know. I mean, on religion, I think yes, Republicans do tend to be more religious.
Yeah.
On other things, I don't know. But some of it's funny. The empathy for other people is good.
Yeah. Well,
but-
yeah. I mean, I anything I say, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic with it. It's just
No.
I know that Republicans are empathetic,
Mm.
like or can be, and
Yeah.
it's not a broad statement, but I feel like if I think Democrats have definitely made it their thing to be a champion for the less fortunate or people that are suffering unfairly, I
Yeah.
guess we'll say, which requires empathy.
Yeah, and again, we'll issue the caveat, like it is in practice more complicated than that, and I think there are a lot of Republicans, certainly Trump Republicans, who would argue that what he's doing has been kind of exactly that, and sticking up for people that didn't have someone talking, advocating for them or whatever. But I think there is that there is on. Okay, let's see. How was I going to say this?
How can you offend the least amount of people?
Or the most? On the left, it is more of a thing to be, I think, actually, I'm going to rephrase. If you take the basic principle that you should lift where you stand, so, you are going to be concerned about your community. You're going to vote in a way that promotes good conditions for all, however you define that. Can you compartmentalize on that? Say, like, I'm doing the best I can in my community, or I'm doing some reasonable amount of good, trying to do a reasonable amount of good in my community. I vote in a way that I think will facilitate better conditions for more people not in my community when I vote in national and statewide elections. And because I do that, obviously there are a lot of people suffering, but I cannot help them. And so I am not going phrased a little more bluntly than it might be felt, I'm not going to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's a fair perspective?
Yeah, and I think it's perfectly reasonable too. I feel like it's a difference of opinion at that point. I mean, like all of this is, but
Right.
you, yeah, I mean, it does make it sound like the Republicans are the selfish ones, but you're saying that it's more about just helping those that are around you.
Yeah, I like.
So if you live in West Virginia on some mountain and everyone around you is in the same position,
Yeah.
you're not really going to care that people in New York don't have enough Walmarts.
I think it goes a couple of different ways. So one, yes, maybe, or maybe you have you have no concept of people needing Walmart. So, like, if you're presented a bill and it's like, we need more Walmarts, you'd be like, I really don't think we do. So I'm going to vote against that, or whatever. I'm going to vote against the guy that just wants more Walmarts. But I also think,
I mean, in a similar way, like Democrats, maybe they associate more with people that are different than them.
Well,
because they live in
here's
bigger
the
cities.
point I was going to say. This is a discussion that I had with a good friend in New York a number of times. But I think people, intentionally or otherwise, extrapolate from their own personal experience. So if you grow up, and we grew up in a situation like this, but if you grow up in a community where there is significant community involvement, community organizations are really active, people tend to participate in them, whether that's church, scouting, school, sports. In a very real way, there is less need for the government than there might be in a place that doesn't have all that. And if you grew up in New York, good buddies that grew up in apartment buildings, Upper East Side, New York, and you don't know your neighbors, and you are, you're participating in things, but it's not like a neighborhood thing. And, if something happens on the street, it's not a community organization that has responsibility for it. It's the city. Like, if it's the government doing that stuff, you are going to think, on average, again, there are exceptions, but you're going to extrapolate from that and see a broader role. That was our sponsor trying to make its way up. You're going to see a broader role for government in society than someone might if they've grown up in a place where it just wasn't needed.
Yeah.
And the connection that I think both of those polls arguably fail to make, or the intuitive leap fail to make, whatever, is that in these other places they're different. They don't have the same priors, and every different place has different needs. Some needs might be broadly similar across big cities or across rural areas, but places within the very large United States are different. And maybe, that militates against doing everything through the federal government. You want to keep things local to the greatest extent possible, but there are downsides to that too, obviously.
Well, I mean, America's been fighting over that since literally the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, and like for good reason. Like, that's really hard. Like, now we have different abortion laws in different states. That, and on both sides, that doesn't seem like a great solution, because the people that are really anti-abortion are like, babies are dying in these various liberal states, and then liberals are like, these moms, they don't have choice if they're born in Alabama or wherever.
Yeah.
And so, it's states' rights. People they tend to be kind of cool with it if it's like tax rates, and much less cool with it if it's civil rights. And that's pretty reasonable, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, what do you think? Let's end with this, just slightly over. What do you think is the next step for? Okay. Let me start with an assumption.
You got to keep it simple for me.
Right. 2 + 2. Democrats are going to have an easier chance of winning at the national level if they can appeal to whether it's people's sense of patriotism or something else that is broadly unifying. Forget how I started that sentence, but basically they're going to need to do that, I think, to do well in elections. It's going to make it easier.
I mean,
so how do they do it?
They have to show that they've learned something, or that they're capable of change. In my opinion, because I'm not going to care if Joe Blow 97, typical Democrat, is running for president, and it might make, like, I'll vote however I vote, right? But
yeah,
for the people that are not inspired by things that are happening, I think you have to show what you're willing to do to change to not be horrible.
Yeah. That I think that's a real point. And I think that's applicable to Democrats, and I think it's also applicable to Republicans. Because as fun as it is right now for Republicans to be in charge, we are now it has been a while. So, I mean, Republicans, Trump, because of the way he is, and we acknowledge that he is legitimately charismatic. He has very strong support because of his charisma and all that. He has a very high floor. He's got a low ceiling. He's got a really low ceiling. He's limited as a party leader. He's limited as a national leader. And if you want to really establish, a long-term ruling coalition or whatever, you've got to adopt an approach that can appeal to people outside your base.
Yeah. Not just a particular group that's excited about one particular thing.
That's pre-stoked about you.
Yeah. I've been somewhat inspired by like some of the things that Bernie Sanders and AOC have done, of just like there are people in the Democratic Party that are thinking a little bit differently than the rest, or are saying the same things they've been saying for 60 years, but are like, kind of finally relevant. And
shout out Bernie.
But there has something just needs to change, and however they can make me perceive that. I don't know how you do that, but go for it, because that's what you have to do, I think. Because you might get some people that go out and vote out of frustration of the trolling.
Yeah.
And powerful emotion, people that will just vote because they always do. But it's the people that are kind of just, why do I have to do this again? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to show that you're thinking about everybody, and you're thinking, and that you made a mistake. There's like some self-awareness and accountability, and saying like, we want to do it like this.
Yeah. It's funny. That was one of, I'm not sure if I ever mentioned what Sanders was talking about in his interview when he talked about Harris. So it was a winnable race, and he said, her message was consultant driven. She spent a ton of time with Liz Cheney, who probably moved to like 9 votes, maybe 900, not enough. And she didn't have a message that resonated with working class people, and that's what Bernie always says. And I don't know, maybe he's right, but completely forgot where I was going with that.
You were going to say that Republicans are dumb and Democrats are really smart. That's what you were going to say, right?
Yeah, maybe that was it.
That's what you typically end the podcast with.
No, I was going to say, you're talking about the recognition and the apologizing. Part of what made that, part of what handicapped Harris, and it was a kind of a voluntary handicap, was that she couldn't create any distance between herself and Biden.
Yeah, she was Joe Biden.
Yeah, she couldn't apologize.
Sleepy Joe.
Yeah, she couldn't.
Version.
She couldn't acknowledge the administration's mistakes and explain, here's why we made that mistake, and here's why it was reasonable for us to do that. Here's what we learned. Here's why the policy changed. It's like she just maybe have a policy change with no explanation, or not a sufficient explanation. All right, and that was the interview. Thank you very much for listening. If you wouldn't mind, please do leave a review for the podcast. I believe those are important. And subscribe to the newsletter, which will be linked in the show notes, or can be found at neverclosetheinquiry.substack.com. Thanks.